The 10 most frequently asked questions about buying a business, part two. How long does it take to buy a business? Now, this really depends on how lucky you are and how quickly a business that's a good fit for you comes by your desk. We usually tell people to expect to be searching for a business for about a year, and then it can take about 3 to 6 months for that acquisition to close. Now, your timetable for closing, it's always going to be extended. There's always going to be something that goes wrong that causes a delay. What are brokers looking for in a buyer? They want someone that has an ability to close, someone that qualifies for financing and has the resume required to run the business. They want someone who can close the transaction, someone who's financially qualified and their resume shows they're qualified to run that business. What if I don't have the required license for the business I want to acquire? Can I just hire someone who does? The answer now is no. Up until very recently, you could. You could just have someone within the company hold the license. There were basically exchanges where you could use someone else's license. But now the SBA wants the guarantor on the loan to be the person that holds the license. So if you're buying in an industry that requires a license you don't have, SBA is probably not going to work for you. And you're probably going to have a hard time finding other paths to finance that acquisition. Can I buy a business in another state? The answer to this one's no. So the SBA loan program is not designed to be an absentee ownership program. It's designed to be an owner-operator program. And in order to be an owner-operator, most lenders and the SBA think that you should be relatively close to that location. So 60 to 90 miles is probably about as far as you can push it from where you live. There are businesses that are run fully remote. Of course, you could buy that if it's in another state. But for the most part, most small businesses need a owner-operator in the business day to day, which means you need to live nearby. So if you live on a state border, yeah, sure, you can do it. But the amount of miles you live away from the business are going to be a factor. How much cash do you need for working capital? Now, the amount varies, but the good news is that you can get it from the bank or from the seller through how you structure the deal. So typically the bank will lend up to $500,000 pretty easily for working capital. We're actually seeing them ease up on that a little bit. We're seeing banks go above that 500. If you do acquire a business that needs more than $500,000 of working capital, you can usually work it into the structure of the deal. Effectively, you raise the price, but the seller leaves cash in the business. We like to see 3 months of operating cash held in reserves, but the true amount of cash you need is going to depend on the cash conversion cycle of the business you're acquiring. When does the business pay its expenses, and when does it collect its revenue? To learn more about buying a business, check out our profile.